Hey, what's going on, guys? Another knife review for you. Little fixed blade. Makes this kind of unique is that Strider name on there. Yeah, it's been a long time since I reviewed a Strider knife. This is a loaner. This is one that was sent to me by a viewer. The viewer actually bought this because it was one of the more affordable Striders at about 200 bucks. And he used it on a camping trip and he absolutely loved it. Was so impressed he wanted to send it to me to use, and I was open to the idea because I haven't had any experience with any kind of Strider fixed blades, you know, small, big, expensive, cheap, whatever. Not that any of it's really cheap, but for $200, I was really interested because this is definitely more on the playing field for a lot of you guys watching. It's not the $400, $500, $600+ knives that you see. $200 is reasonable for more people than, obviously a more expensive knife. It's a very simple design. It's basically just a small or medium, let's say, a fixed blade with a paracord wrap on it. But this one has been very impressive. It's a simple design that's perfected. And there's only a few knife companies out there that I've experienced that have done this, where they took a very simple skeletonized, basically it's a blade stock that's shaped and sharpened. And the paracord wrap is cheap to some people, beneficial to others. It just depends. Obviously you can get scales for this knife if you wanted to. It's preference. Some people like the paracord wrap just because of the texture that it gives. Obviously you can do things that are a little bit bulkier. You can change it up if you want to get a different feel for it. It has a little bit more give when you're squeezing it than G10 or micarta or whatever you happen to use for scale material. So it's more flexible. Other people just see it as cheap. It's just a cheaper way to produce a knife as opposed to making a scale. It's preference. I don't think it's here or there, but for $200, I would highly recommend this knife. I'm gonna give you some specs, but before I do, I want to give you some pictures of the owner of this knife. Some pictures he took while he was camping with this. So check those out right now. So there's a couple pictures that he took when he was on his camping trip, and I promised that I would do a review as soon as I can on this knife. I've had it for a while now, and he's about to go on another trip, and he really wants it back because he loves it, and I don't blame him. But anyway, so we're looking at here is a Strider MFS, and this is their medium or small bushcraft style EDC blade. This is very versatile. You can tell just by the design. We have a simple utility style blade, a little bit of belly on here, a little bit of a point. It's not any kind of extreme design. It's very well executed though on this one. 4 1/8 inches on the blade. It's S30V as marked on the back. You can see here, CPM S30V, made in the USA. There's a logo on the back. Of course, the Strider in block letters on the front. 8 inches overall. The actual blade is 4 1/8 inches, but our cutting surface is 3 3/4 inches, and it's 0.19 inches thick. So a sturdy blade, very stout. We have a hollow ground blade on here. Comes to a very sharp edge. S30V has been a favorite steel of mine for many years. I've used dozens and dozens of different types of steels. S30V, 154 cm, and D2 are some of my favorite just because of the versatility of it. They're all very hard steels, but they're not excessively hard. They're not hard to sharpen, in my opinion. Obviously, S30V from different companies do have little differences here and there. The heat treat and the properties are the same for the most part. CPM S30V is CPM S30V. It doesn't matter who has it, but what they do with it does change the overall performance on it, and it's slightly different here and there. But Strider definitely did a fantastic job on this. This thing cuts and cuts and cuts. This edge seems like it's permanently a razor blade. Through the testing he has, and he sent to me saying that he didn't sharpen it at all. And I got it, and it felt like it was a out of the box edge. It was ridiculously sharp. And after all the testing I've put through, I have not sharpened this yet. And it's still really sharp. So extremely a good performance on this particular S30V blade. The weight on this is 6.4 ounces. Does not feel very heavy at all. The Kydex sheath you get with it is a fold-over Kydex, very simple design, couple of drainage holes on the side there. The fit is very good. It's a soft, squishy fit, is where I would consider this. It doesn't have a major snap, but it kind of fits in right there, and then you push it a little bit more, and you just kind of feel it snug up. There's no way this is going to come out. It's very snug, but it doesn't have that audible snap. Some of them have, you know, when you put it into the Kydex sheath, you just hear it like a big old audible snap in there. But sometimes with those, you get a little bit of wiggle. This is more of a squishy fit. It almost feels like pressure fit. Easy to get out. There's no kind of thumb ramp or anything on here. I know nowadays it's pretty commonplace to have some kind of a place to push off. Of course, you know, you could use just the edge here, as opposed to struggling to pull with both hands. I don't recommend doing this. It depends on the sheath. Sometimes you don't really have that much of an option if the Kydex is very thin. But to grab the knife and grab the sheath and literally just pull apart, it's not precise. You have room for error where you're going to swing this knife and maybe cut something or cut yourself. I see people do this all the time. God forbid, please don't do this. Okay, obviously if you go to pull out, you have skin exposed here. Okay, when you go to pull out, I'm going to do this carefully. You could just come down and just slice your hand. All right, be very careful how you're taking your knives out. But if you can, in any case, use your thumb to push off. All right, to push the sheath off the knife as opposed to just pulling out. But that's just a general tip. Nothing really to do with this knife specifically. Does come with the tech lock, which is very convenient. Did carry and use this. I use this. Christina used this. Christina used this to cut up some fat wood, which is extremely resinous, so it's very hard to do. You do really need a nice sharp edge on there, otherwise it just sticks too much. That resin on the wood grabs that metal a lot, so it's actually a really good thing to whittle and shave off. Fat wood is a great test for a knife to really see how much friction you're going to get, really to test that edge, comparing to other knives, of course. But anyway, awesome fit, works great. No complaints at all with the sheath. Because it's a fold-over design, it is pretty minimalist. There's no extra waste of material. So it's slim line, in my opinion, and versatile with the tech lock. The wrap on this is fine. It's, you know, the thickness of it gives you a little bit of girth to grab onto. It fills out the hand very nicely. As far as the fit of my hand, like I said, average to large size hands. I have plenty of handle to grip. If you have really large hands, this knife may be small for you, or you just may be used to, you know, not having a whole lot of handle because you have huge hands. But either or, I think it is pretty versatile. I think most people's hands, unless you have huge hands, are going to fit this knife. It's a very simple, straight design here. Like a lot of the Striders, the back end is angled, like on a 45. The reason for that is, you know, in reverse grip, if you're stabbing, whatever, you have a nice, comfortable grip with that thumb. Gives you a little bit more leverage to, you know, to stab with. I would say most of the time, if you are stabbing, the idea of putting your thumb here is twofold. First of all, it's good for grip, and there's jimping here. But also, when your hand stops from the slamming down into something, having your thumb here and that pressure and your muscle in your thumb keeps your hand from sliding down. You see there's no real guard here at all right? So it would be easy to slip up and slice your finger. And with this extremely sharp edge, you might take a finger right off. So I do recommend, sometimes, you know, people ask me all the time with stabbing, you know, what are you going to use stabbing for? And there's situations where you will be stabbing into something, not just for fun. I know, you know, most 13-year-old boys like, you know, me, I love just stabbing cardboard boxes with my knives. When I wasn't using them, I was playing with my knives. But there are practical situations where you might need to stab into something. My point is, most of the time I do recommend a grip like this, okay, as opposed to a thumb on top, because it's uncomfortable, it hurts, but that's only with knives with large guards where you're not going to slide down. If you were to stab with this knife, I highly recommend using your thumb up here and proceeding with caution, because it's very easy to slide up onto that blade and hurt yourself very, very badly. As I mentioned before, it's attention to detail here. It's a simple blade stock, right? Ground, sharpened, and wrapped. But it's attention to detail. What I like about this most, besides the fact that it's extremely well-performing fixed blade, is just the rounding on all the edges. It means the world to me when I see this on a knife. There's so many companies that have awesome knives, but they don't do this. I want to come in really close and show you. Just like on the spine, for example, even though it's not literally rounded, it's squared off, but all the edges are knocked off. All the edges are nice and comfortable to handle. It's not an abrupt 45-degree cut on those. it's just lightly rounded. You can see that all throughout the jimping. The jimping is functional. It's not too aggressive. But this consists all the way around the knife. All right. I like that. It just makes for a really comfortable knife. It really feels finished compared to a lot of knives out there. And I'm talking good performing knives for reasonable prices. There's a lot of knives like this, a lot of this style of knife. But this one, I think, definitely supersedes all of those because of the quality of the steel. You know it's going to work. It's very strong. I had no problems doing everything I need to do with this knife. No chipping, no rolling of the edge. But in addition to that, the minor touch of that it's super comfortable. It's very, very comfortable just to handle this knife and to touch it and feel it. There's no sharp edges anywhere. And I really, really like that. You guys know in the past when I do knife reviews, I point out the subtle details. Something as simple as if you have a folder, you know, the company will swap the hardware so it's like presentation side up. These little details are the differences between knives to me. You know, all knives cut things. Some cut better than others. But the details are what matter to me as a knife collector, knife user, and someone just who appreciates cutlery. So the Strider MFS is a fantastic fixed blade. For the $200 price tag, I really think it's hard to beat. I'll put it to you this way. In trying the Gunner 10, the Blackheart Customs Gunner 10, which I recently reviewed, I said that was my favorite fixed blade I've ever had in my life. Had I not handled that knife and had the opportunity to use that, I would say that about this one. This comes in at number 2. For its size, all right, for a 4 1/8 inch blade, I think you're hard pressed to find this style of knife that is better than this for the price tag. $200 is extremely reasonable for this. And it's also an affordable price to get into a Strider. If you guys have always been interested in Strider knives, obviously the folders I think are a little bit more popular than the fixed blades, although plenty of people do like their fixed blades. I was extremely impressed, And I think for $200, you're gonna get a knife that's just as good as their $400 knife, just maybe without the fancy tiger striping, you know, or big tanto, or, you know, larger size. Highly, highly recommended. If you guys are into bushcraft, this is, you know, a viable option for that. That's how I've been using this knife. That's the purpose of this knife for my testing anyway, and the owner's purpose is as a bushcraft knife slash, you know, EDC knife out in the woods. You can certainly carry this on the belt and just use this as an everyday knife, you know, everyday carry. There's no reason you couldn't, unless there's laws that prohibit you from doing that. So, fantastic knife, definitely worth checking out. If you guys are fixed blade people, you're missing out if you don't try this one. So, that's all. Thank you very, very much again to the owner of this. This will be shipped out ASAP now that I've done the review. And this will go back out to the jungle, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. He's taking a jungle trip. So it's gonna be pretty interesting to see how this continues to handle, but super nice, really nice. Something else I didn't mention that I'm just looking at now as I'm finishing up is another detail, having that blade choil, okay, having your sharpened edge come all the way to the end. Super easy to sharpen. Like I said, I have not had to sharpen this one at all or even touch it up. I didn't even strop it. I was so impressed with this, I just kept using it, and it's still razor sharp. So, very, very impressive. So that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. New knife reviews coming your way. I'm gonna try doing another one very soon, but definitely have some catch up to do in the knife arena. Lots of fixed blades, by the way. I have plenty of folders, but tons of fixed blades too. So stay tuned for that. Until then, hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you soon. Take care.